How are we doing today, folks? Welcome, welcome, welcome. So I decided to go live because hold on. I've got one of my something is the volume up. And no, it doesn't because I just shut off everything. So, welcome aboard, folks. I just wanted to get on because I was dying to hear um, who people will be supporting now that DeSantis has officially come out and said that he is running. So, I think we all kind of knew, right, that he was going to come out and run. But I think the fact that now it's official, and I do like the way he did it. I like the way he did it on Twitter. So Gary Lawson here is saying he's about DeSantis. I'm going to get some. I'm going to see if how many people we can get to comment here as to who they're for. Rumble, I got you guys too. So don't uh, don't don't be shy over there. I can't post that stuff up to the screen, but I can definitely give you a shout out. Um, if you go ahead and comment. I know Rumble is always the shyest of the bunch when it comes to speaking up. But yeah, I got 10 people on Rumble right now. So I know this was unannounced. So I'm not expecting a huge crowd, but I am definitely curious about who people are going to be siding with because I find it fascinating at this point. Um, and I want to see how this plays out. My attitude is let the horses run, right? So let them run, man. Let them run, and see what happens. I think either way, it's a win. So there are far worse scenarios that I think this nation could find itself in than wondering whether or not or getting upset that it might be one or the other, DeSantis or Trump. Um, Now, myself, I have to say, at least for those of you who know me and know what I'm all about, what this channel's all about, etc. The one thing about me that does have me side with DeSantis is this, and I'm going to play the clip for you right now. And I'm not diehard to DeSantis, but this leans me in his direction, and here's what's dear to my heart.
A few states have done it. I think Alabama's done it, Florida, a couple others. But man, how great would that be if the states were coming and providing a restraint? That's how the founders envisioned. They understood when you do these things, you could do it through Congress or you could do it through the states. You could do it through either one. And they knew if you were going to do things to discipline the people who were in power at the time, you probably had to go around them. They weren't going to necessarily agree to be able to do it. So I think that that would provide people with an ability, instead of the incentive being you get elected to Congress and your sole goal is to just stay there as long as possible, you get elected to Congress and you'd have a limited time to actually make a difference for people and to actually get things done. And if you got any steam behind this, the amount of fear that that would strike into these people up there, they would be really, really scared because ultimately a lot of the people in D.C.
All right, so I don't want to. He's going to go on and on there, but he is and has come out vocally in favor of calling a convention of states because he understands and has done his reading and is not playing footsie with the whole issue. Now, I understand some of the undercard candidates have come out in favor as well, but my point here is that I haven't heard Donald Trump come out in favor, and you know, it to me it's a testament to, number one, he's got a lot going on, right? I get that. And number two, it really has nothing to do with the presidency. However, I do believe that the president of the United States backing like vocally being verbal about a convention of states will drive the movement through the ceiling. Okay. And that's just, I mean, I just know that to be true. And so when I look at it and I say, okay, who which what would I like to see really? Because I don't really the election to me is not something that's going to change the country unless a Marxist wins, right? Then it changes the country. But then, again, even if a Marxist won, convention of states is still the solution. And even if Trump or DeSantis win, convention of states is still the solution. So, in the end, I lean towards DeSantis for that reason. Now, Trump may come out in a few weeks and be like, you know what? Someone poses the question to him, and he may come out and be like, you know what? I have read up on it, and I am for it. And I think that it's a wonderful thing for the people to flex their muscles that this way, and to take out, and to implement term limits, like that. He would understand that he cannot get term limits done, that he cannot get fiscal restraints, like not because he's incompetent, but because he's the president, and presidents can't do that. So like the people can though, and knowing that the president, that there be a president in office who's, and Trump's not that he's short on balls, right? He's not short on. He's not wearing any of those tuck bathing suits, right? That's not him, right? So if he reads up on it and understands the power of it, I think he would be fully for it. But I just, I want to see him do that. I want to see him come out and say something in favor, because that matters to me. Let me get through some of the comments here. Um, Sheila, how are you today over on Facebook? Keep speaking 110% truth. Yes, always, Sheila, always. And now that I've seen Sheila, I do want to remind folks, there is going to be a CosFest. CosFest 2023 will be in Egypt, New Jersey. I don't have the date in front of me, but I wasn't particularly prepared for that one right now. But it is coming up in Egypt, New Jersey. I am going to have the state director from Convention Estates, as well as Sheila, who's a district captain over in New Jersey, on the broadcast the week before. I want to say it's June 17th, just from memory, but we'll be giving you more on that along the way. If you check out my last live, my last Wednesday night live, you'll find a link for that as well, for the event. So to all my folks in New Jersey, go after it. All right, so Descant is supported by Schwab and Schumer. Really, George? Yeah, I don't buy into all that, Michael. And how are you, by the way? So this whole push to make this guy a rhino right now, is not something that I'm bought into. So, and I'm not willing to start eating our own. Look, there's a Trump voter, and then there's the Trump supporter, right? And I'm not sitting here saying I'm in DeSantis's camp. There's nothing that can happen in the next, who knows what, that will change my mind. I've already swung back and forth once or twice because the candidates are incredibly similar. They're incredibly similar. Okay. So like, if someone's going to start letting themselves buy into the mass formation that DeSantis is some kind of rhino, like the reality of the matter is with DeSantis, and this goes for anybody who runs against Trump, like, yes, the establishment's going to like DeSantis. So get ready for that. DeSantis doesn't have anything, he can't do anything about that. It's not like the idea that, like if in a week Jeb Bush comes out and goes, you know what, I think DeSantis would be a great kid. Like, that's not something that you should see in a Trump ad campaign and be like, see, because those folks just don't like Trump. So if they see somebody running against him, like DeSantis can't control that kind of stuff. And frankly, I think up until this point, he has handled himself perfectly. Like, he's waited until the session was over. He handled his business in the open session in Florida. He did what he had to. He did amazing things there, set a ton of precedents. So yeah, really, Mike, we'll have to agree to disagree on this one. But like I said, I'm not getting into the camp of bashing Trump or DeSantis. Like, I'm not in either one of those camps. Like, for me, the difference is nuance. If you're going to go down one of those paths, if anyone wants to go down one of those paths, we're going to start bashing one or bashing the other. Because believe me, Trump is gonna bring it, as far as the weird stories and the trying to link him to, because Trump thinks he's the only person on earth who can be, who can not be a part of the establishment, and it's not the case. And honestly, there is upside to DeSantis not bringing all the baggage with him. So there's good things about DeSantis, but there's good things about Trump too. He's been in there, right? He's been in office. We know we've seen him combat China. I'll be honest, when I do miss him just saying the word China. The China virus. Like just the way he would say that kind of stuff with that smug look on his face. It was precious. So there's an element of me missing that kind of stuff too. But really, I'm just sitting back and watching the show. Let these horses run. And so and like I said, don't let yourself go down the path of of DeSantis is a rhino, because that's just Now, if he comes out and says something, or comes out and makes a statement along those lines, that's different. Then you judge it, you take it as it comes, you judge it as it comes. But that's not something to start. Don't judge him like that because Trump said so, which is exactly what it's been so far. Leslie, how are you today? I'm concerned about DeSantis doing red flag, passing speech laws against Floridians on foreign soil. Why would he pass speech laws and pushing e-verify? So again, I don't know that e-verify is a bad thing, so I'm a little bit confused. I mean, the reality of the matter is, and I guess I could see why someone would say e-verify depending on what industry you're in, right? So for those that don't know what e-verify is, it's a system that you could put in place at any time. It's existed for a while, but it's verification of citizenship for employment, and it's a system, a registry where it basically, if you put someone's information through it and they ain't legit, they ain't getting hired. And that's the bottom line. I said, Trump, though, and I'll read the rest of this. Trump, though, needs to stop the name calling. It takes some responsibility for mistakes. Yeah, and that's a problem for Trump, right? Like, he won't own stuff. And on that note, DeSantis made a comment just like, and that's not a small thing, folks. All right. So for the dieharders who are going to love Trump, even when he kills someone on Fifth Avenue, you're still going to vote for him. So be it. But to all the people who are objectively looking at the two candidates, like, this is something that needs to be, that needs to get addressed. Like, and it will in a debate. And I'm dying to see the issue come up in a debate, because to this day, Trump is still is not has not said anything other. His last comments were, the vaccine was the greatest invention of mankind, and that millions and millions of lives were saved, and yeah, it shouldn't have been forced on people, but millions and millions of lives were saved. Instead of just being honest with everyone and saying, hey, look, it's a freaking pandemic. I'm not a freaking epidemiologist. You got people coming. I didn't know at the time that Fauci was the coconut that he is. Like, there were so many ways he could have came off and been genuine, and people would have just let it go. It'd been like, it makes sense. Like, if he just said, look, all I knew is we had a pandemic. They were telling me millions were going to die, and there was a ton of red tape holding everything up, and I just cut all the red tape, which is not necessarily a bad thing in and of itself, but it's, what it produced, right? The end result was clearly not the desirable one, and at least for for many people, especially in the voting bloc. So now he's got to answer to that, and DeSantis has already started pricking away at that. He's already started. I had a quote from him. He just made this. It was the first time I really heard him take a shot at Trump. And it wasn't a shot. And I think that's going to be something that, he's going to throw out these witty statements, but he's not going to go after him. He's not going to go after Trump the way Trump's going to go after him, with all the petty names and the sanctimonious. And like, if Trump takes that strategy with DeSantis, he's going to hurt himself with it. Whether or not he loses because of it, I don't know, but it ain't going to help him. That's for sure. It is not going to help him, because DeSantis can handle that nonsense, and he's got the track record right now to. So Michael says over on YouTube, if people are not engaging at the local level, they will never have an impact at the national level. Yeah, I don't know, Mike. I mean, here's the thing, right? It is. You're right, though. You're right that in the sense that people should absolutely be engaging in the local level. 110% people should be engaging at the local level. But the problem, and this is part of it, is that people think the answers are to be found at the federal level. Like, they still don't understand. And that's part of what we try to do on this channel, right? And I know you do it all the time, Mike. Mike is a state director in Massachusetts, for Convention of States, and to those, like, once you get yourself down with the Convention of States movement in general, the one thing you're going to notice is the level of civics, that the game steps up in the level of civics, and the realization of the power of local government is where our heads should be. And that's why I started this off saying neither one of these guys is saving the country in any way. I mean, they can stop the bleeding. There are things that a president can do, like with the border. They can definitely help with the border because the laws are already on the books. So the president can immediately start executing, some discipline on the borders, and close that up. There are things that, foreign relations, as far as dealing with China, but there are things that a president can do. But the major issues that are facing this nation that we will burn if we do not correct, whether China is involved or not, our fiscal restraints, and the death of the dollar if we stay on this pace, which will be addressed at this particular convention. It is in the topic set, right? Term limits for all federal officials. So there's none of this, well, we have term limits, they're elections. No. Nobody elected the second in charge at the CIA who shows up at those creepy black budget meetings and directs every single new director as to how the game is played. Nobody freaking voted for that guy. That dude gets term limited too, right? So there's the second one, and the other one is government overreach, right? We're looking at the ATF, the FBI, Department of Education, all of them, OSHA, nonsense, totally unnecessary on a federal level. Gone. Presidents ain't going to do that. We can do that. We can do that. And this is what, when you get down with Article 5 and you understand it, you get past all the fear tactics and the deep state's going to take it over, so I can't use my power. Like it's madness. It's madness. If you don't use it, all right, if you don't take a shot, it's over anyway. At this point of the game, I mean, most of the people who watch this broadcast already know what I'm talking about. So I don't need to, as far, and I don't mean with Article 5, I mean as far as it being over anyway, if we don't do something drastic. And passing a balanced budget amendment, overturning the 16th Amendment, defanging the purse of the federal government, the parent, which is the states, spanking the child back into discipline. That is what this nation needs. And I love the fact that Ron DeSantis knew it early and said it out loud. And that's just all I'm saying is I want to see Trump do that too. I want to see Trump do that too. And so far I have not, but that could change. That could change. All right. So Kathy, how are you? Totally right, she says. Why he holds on to the great vaccine drives you crazy. And it drives me crazy as well. And he's just leaving, like, but it's not like why, right? It's not like we don't know why. We know why. We know why Trump will not let go. He doesn't. Do you think he doesn't know, right? That's what gets you. He knows his base is like cringing. Just like they cringe, the majority cringe when he freaking keeps insulting DeSantis. How many comments are there? One of the insults to DeSantis, one of the comments that were in the not one of them, a laundry list of them were like from Floridians, like lay off my governor, like the people there are loving him, and they're not alone. Like there are people who absolutely love the fact that he has taken the full offensive against the woke mob, against ESG, against vaccine mandates, against vaccines in general, against the whole nine, right? Against the pedophiles. Like this dude has brought on an entire assault campaign, and now we're going to listen to people call him a rhino. I'm just like, I can't. I can't do it. I can't go down that road. She said he went to Israel and signed. Is there an Israel, Florida? Is that he went to Israel and signed anti-Semitism speech laws for Floridians? I got to look more into that, Leslie, because that sounds insane. And there's got to be, that sounds like one of those things that come up on those clickbait videos, and like is totally out of context and doesn't. It would be all over the place if Ron DeSantis tried to take up a bill against the First Amendment. It would be everywhere in the news, and I this is the first time that I'm hearing it. So I'm not sure. You know, I'm not sure. If you hit me up later, shoot me a message on it where you got that from. Or just message the channel, and I will be happy to look into that and see see what's going on there. Isabel, how are you over at all the comments coming out of Facebook except Mike holding it down in on YouTube. U.S. vaccines are not drugs; they are biologics. No need for detail on the molecules. No safety trial. Yeah, this mRNA thing is just creepy in general. It's still in an experimental phase, as far as I know. I still, I know they tried to do the bait and switch with that FDA approval, a couple of years ago. Oh, it's FDA approved. It's like, no, it's not. There's something sort of similar that got approved for use like 8 years from now. But like, I think they're still operating under emergency standards, and there's not even an emergency. So, and if they got taken off emergency standards, that's a good point, Isabel. I appreciate that. Liz Chauvin, bro. Is it bruh? Bruh. I'm sorry if I butchered that, Liz, but my Brooklyn accent does only allows me to make certain sounds. Um, so hi from Louisiana. Oh, outstanding. We love Louisiana. I feel like President Trump really cares about the country and wants us to have a better life. We were much better off with him as president. I cannot disagree with one word of that statement. There's not. I go at this with my brother all the time because like I'm not adamant for one or the other. Like the real upside, I think, to say, that if DeSantis won is just I am kind of tired of the constant, just the media baggage at this point. Like I loved it when it was the first round, but now I'm kind of like exhausted by it, and I just feel like when it comes to dealing with the media, when it comes to dealing with whoever we elect to Congress, when it comes to dealing with all of that, I feel like DeSantis, because Trump had a lot, like we can't forget, he had a lot of executive orders, right? A lot. I mean, much of what he did on a policy front was erased the day that he left. So I would like to not see that happen again. And it's not that the things that he did were bad. It's just that they were gone the day he left. And people go, oh, well, no one can work with these people. Well, number one, we can elect better people into those positions. And let's not turn this into an election fraud argument because you still have to get out there and vote. So, like the idea that I'm not going to vote, like you still got to get out there and vote. You just got to be there in bigger numbers, and that many more people can't sit it out, right? Like even if it's fixed, there's only so much they can fix it. Trust me, they're attacking Donald Trump for a reason. If they thought they had the election wrapped up and they'd be able to just fix it, they don't need to attack Donald Trump. They would let him go full speed and let him friggin' fill up every stadium and be the man and this and that, and then just fix it and he'll lose and they'll be like, see, it was all a show. So they are attacking the hell out of him. They're trying to get him in jail. They're not going to be able to do it. And that's a reason I like him is that they're trying to get him in jail. It makes me feel like they are afraid of him, but I feel like that fear would carry over to DeSantis as well. So, but yeah, Liz, I can't disagree with one word of that statement. So I appreciate your comment. Doctor Strange, we got something from Twitter, from Twitch here. So I got a question. Did you ever check out Salty Cracker on YouTube yet? And if so, what did you think of him? I did, and I enjoyed it. So at least the episode that I saw. Now I am not, I'm not clinging to it and constantly going back and watching more, but I did check it out that night. Actually, I went downstairs sometimes after the broadcast. I'll go down, have a brewski, and just follow up on some of the things that we talk about during the broadcast. That's why I love Wednesday nights so much because it's the engagement, right? So, not that I can't keep my mouth motoring forever, but yes, I did, Doctor Strange, and I appreciate the recommendation. All right, so we got Leslie here. Wow, okay, the comments are flowing today. So, if he would issue a genuine admission to the damage of the vaccines and the lockdowns, not blame everyone else, and offer a sincere apology, would help him greatly. That would end the race if he would just do that. This is why I don't understand it because, like, people who are diehard Trump don't want to believe that someone could just turn their back and walk away from him. But I could tell you right now, if you have a family member who is adversely affected by those vaccines, you will walk away from Trump in a cocaine heartbeat over that one issue, especially when there's a DeSantis sitting there waiting to take your vote. Like that, if he were to come out and just do what I said before and be like, "Look, man, I didn't know, I got these people telling me millions of people are going to die if I don't take action. I took action, right? And it turns out that they were all dirtbags. And, like if he would have said it like that, everybody could have related to that, and it would have been like, all right, you know. And then from there on in, just call the vaccine what it is and move on. But he's still like, even after the first like pushback from his supporters, he came out again and did the same thing again. Like it's just, look, it's something everyone has to accept about Donald Trump. He loves this nation. He wants the best for this country, but he wants the best for Donald Trump first. Like nothing comes before Donald Trump. Like he's good for freedom of religion, but let's not pretend he's religious, right? Like there's elements about him, right, that are good for certain things, but they don't necessarily represent his personal life, right? Like Trump is not, if he started going to church every Sunday, it's because of the election cycle. Like, trust me, this is not a man, now he's a believer in America. He's a believer in freedom. He's a believer in freedom of religion, and he will align himself with God to some degree, but he's not like a person of faith the way you would think a person of faith should be. But that's not a death sentence in an election. We don't need him to be, we're not asking him to be, Billy Graham, right? We're asking him to kick China's ass, right, and do the right thing on the home front, and I think he will, and I think he will. Totally true. Yeah, Kathy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this comment, so whenever I say something, I don't have to go back and like look at all the comments of people calling me crazy and saying they don't like what I'm saying, and I'm going to put this comment up. I'm going to make it apply to everything I say. No, but thank you, Kathy. Say hello to Jack. And for those of you that don't remember Jack, he was with me. We started this channel just a couple of years ago. And then Barbara Norman, isn't DeSantis backed by Soros? No, Barbara, stop, 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 stop. Like, this is the kind of stuff. This is why in the title I put "Do Patriots Eat Their Own Now?" Because this is the kind of crap you're going to see come from the Trump campaign. And this is the kind of stuff that you need to use all the skills that you gained from 2020 on, right? From researching and looking things up and validating things as fact. Like, this is all the kind of stuff that you're going to start seeing. All right. It's right there with those doo-doo-doos. With the Trump has a plan, there's a secret force of good behind the scenes. Like, and nothing ever comes to fruition with that movement. Like, they just kept getting kicked in the teeth right from the 2020 election on. And it's like, what kind of plan is this? Who set it up? And like there's just elements of things that are out there on the conservative side that we have to be very wary of. And Soros funding DeSantis is insanity. Okay, it's insanity. But again, you know, would that you're gonna hear people come out, and I have not been able to validate anything about Soros, but you're gonna hear people come out who just hate Donald Trump and in some way, shape, or form say something good about DeSantis. DeSantis cannot control those things. Like if somebody could, even if George Soros came out tomorrow and was like, "I really like Ron DeSantis," which he would never do. He would never do. But if he did, it would only be because he wants to stick it to Trump. That would be the only reason. But that doesn't make DeSantis not one inkling less of a candidate. Like the idea that DeSantis is who he is, like I judge people by their actions, not by other people's memes, right? And there's absolutely nothing in the DNA of Ron DeSantis that tells me any of that garbage is true. There's just nothing there. So it's fine to be pro Trump. I'm not even, it's the primaries, folks. Like right now, Trump is crushing him in the polls, right? I mean, the polls are pretty meaningless this early in the game. The examples of them flipping are millions, but it's right now like Trump is far and away the front runner. So as long as Trump doesn't do Trump, like Trump doesn't do himself in, I would think he should win. Now in a general election, I think DeSantis has a better chance because like Trump's hardcore base will get him to the promised land, but it's hard to do that, with respect to the nomination. But it's much harder to do that when like he's Trump's got who he's got. Like I don't see a ton of people flocking to Trump after the fact, unless some really again events dictate all this stuff. So we'll have to see, but he's a very polarizing figure, and the people aren't unsure about him. They either hate him or they absolutely love him, and so he's kind of got the support base that he has. So it is what it is. So when he gets into that bigger arena, it's going to take a severe, like it's going to take a massive outpouring of humanity to guarantee this next election, and I just hope that he has it. I hope he has it. That's all I can say. Sheila says nobody loves Donald Trump more than he does. Yeah. I thought you were going to say more than me. He's like more than he does. That's truth, though. But nobody loves America more than Ron DeSantis. Yeah, no, I think I put him in the same category as far as that's my point is that they both love America. You're going to start seeing in the primaries some serious hair splitting over policy and agenda. 99% of what these two people do is the same. What they will do is the same. Okay, and you yeah the warp speed thing, that's going to be a wedge for sure. That's going to be a wedge. But like I'm trying to think of what the wedge is for Trump. But and so far it seems like it's the you wouldn't even have been elected if it weren't for me. You're not loyal. You weren't loyal to me, which I find to be just a horrifically bad argument personally. Like that's like people who tell me I'm like you're not loyal to Trump. No, I'm not loyal to Trump. I don't owe Trump something. Like the reality of the matter is like I'm appreciative that Trump did what he did, but it's the actions that I care about, not necessarily the person. If Trump says something incredibly stupid, I'm gonna be like, yeah, that was stupid. I'm not gonna start making excuses for him because I'm loyal to him. Like people need to like chill out with that kind of stuff because that's creepy shit right there. When you start saying, "Well, you got to be loyal to him," I don't got to be loyal to anybody. Go out, let him go out there and talk about how wonderful the vaccine is 2 or 3 more times, and I will never vote for the man as long as there's a reasonable alternative out there. Like there's none of this hardcore loyalty. And DeSantis doesn't owe him anything either. It was DeSantis. Yeah, he might have helped him over the edge to get the first run, but once it was his performance as governor that got him the 20-point victory with no support. So it's he's not in debt to anybody. Like that's not okay. That's not okay. Um, Kat says, I keep suddenly hearing he's backed by Soro. What's up with that? That does not seem right at all to me because it's not right, Kathy. It's not right. That's what I'm saying. It's no different than when you hear weird ass crap about the left. Like your gut will tell you when things make sense and don't make sense. All right. That what that is something that was started by by a specific brand of Trump supporter. All right. Like I said, there's a difference between that rabid bunch and just regular. Like there aren't 73 million of those rabid psychos, right? That's just not the case. They don't. There are not 73 million of those people. Like those 73 million. Like Trump knows who they are. He described them.
Where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible.
Right? And I laughed my butt off, by the way, when he first said that. But the reality is, there's truth to it. There are people, now he would lose some votes, obviously, but there are a part of his base who will start making excuses for it, like, well, that guy was a dirtbag anyway. Like he he looked like he was making a move towards Trump first, and like there's a group out there that will absolutely do that. So like, it's important for us to just stay sane. That's all I'm saying. Just stay sane. You can still appreciate what DeSantis is doing, and because in the end the primary is going to end, okay? And if this ain't your first rodeo in an election, okay, everybody kisses and makes up at the end of these freaking things. It's not like it goes on forever. Someone gets scarred for life in a primary. Everybody understands that people are going at each other who have the same views, the same everything, and it's becoming minutia for difference. But when the primaries end, oftentimes the winner will grab one of the most hated people during the primary and ask him to be his vice president. Now, I think that would be an excellent scenario from a time perspective, right? From a timeline perspective, I'm with a lot of people who are like, I'd love to see DeSantis as the VP, and so Trump gets his 4 years because then we get 12 years, right? So I agree. I'd like to see them in succession as well. However, it is what it is. We got to let the horses run and see how this whole thing boils down. So Isabel Soros is the anti-Semite. Soros, the anti-Semite, is totally a Democrat. He said that he thinks Ron DeSantis would win the primary Republican vote. That's it. Yeah. So that's not even an unreasonable statement from someone who doesn't like Donald Trump, right? So and that sounds, Isabel, I appreciate that, because like I haven't gone and looked all this stuff up because I just started laughing. Oh, I just started laughing as soon as I heard all the Soros stuff, and then they were Jeb Bush, like, oh, he's buddies with Jeb Bush. And I was just like, stop it. Like the fact, like, folks, think about it, right? The timing, right? Think about the timing. Like, this is classic stuff. Like, we got to be better than this. We got to be better than this, right? And in the end, we're all gonna be in the same gang again anyway. So it's not something. So here, Darren Wayne Smith over on Facebook. How are you, Darren? Says Trump for sure, but I definitely don't agree with tearing down DeSantis. Yeah, I'm with you, man. This is I think we need him in 28 if he's not down with the permanent uniparty. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. We're gonna need DeSantis. He's a gamer. People like him don't come around very often. You don't just throw them away. You don't just eat. Now Trump will. Trump will, like, this is what I'm saying. This is the part where like Trump could give two shits who's going to be president in 2028. Don't get that twisted. He could give two craps who's going to be the president in 2028. It's all about 2024. It's all about him. And if he needs to crush the 2028 field to make his way to the podium in 2024, he will absolutely do that. Do not get that twisted. And that's fine. That's who he is. But don't you do that with him. That's what I'm saying. You can still get him to where he wants to be without crushing everybody else. Because it ain't going to be Trump that crushes him. It's going to be us, right? It's going to be us not paying attention, not doing our diligence, and starting to get all crazy stuff, rumors and whatever, started about one of our patriots who has done nothing but good things for his constituents since the day he took over. And so, and it matters. So just that's all I'm saying about that. Yeah, Darren says loyalty is his job, not ours. That's absolutely right. Loyalty is the incumbent's job. It's the politician's job. It's not our job. We don't owe anyone loyalty. All right. Once you get into office, then we can start talking about it because now it's the office. But hold on. Sorry, folks, but my wife doesn't know how to just send a text with everything she wants to say. She has to send everything in individual texts. So I get one statement will take up like 6 or 7 texts. And I'm just sitting and there's things like blowing up next to me. But in the end, right, getting back to DeSantis, let's not eat our own. And that's the main theme of why I wanted to jump on tonight, just to kind of get that out there, right? Because we should not be eating our own. And And Kathy's saying, yeah, she's glad that Soros thing got cleared up. She's like, I knew it made my gut feel. Yeah, it made no sense, right? You gotta you need to trust yourself. When your gut gets wacky like that, folks, and you're hearing some stuff, and you're just like, what? Like, yeah, it's you're probably right. You're probably right. So Isabel says on Facebook in February or March 2020, Trump went to meet Bill Gates in Moderna's headquarters, Massachusetts. Trump gave him $11 billion American public money for the vaccine in 2021. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation still owned 26.4. Yeah, okay. Yeah, look again. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna take that. When we get into that, when we get into March 2020, right? Like that's look at where the world was in March 2020. Like, this is what I'm saying. Where Trump would just come out and be like, dude, like this was some scary stuff, right? If he was just honest with people, I was like, look, you're the president of the United States. You have none of this on your mind, and suddenly someone tells you a major pandemic broke out. You don't have the 2020 hindsight that we have now to know that it was a nothing burger for the most part. Most of the damage and death was caused by the government reaction to it, than as opposed to the actual friggin' virus in the end. But the bottom line is you didn't know that. And so you're going and you're making decisions based on what people who at the time you're trusting. It's easy to look back at Fauci now and be like, this guy's a butthead. But you know what? When he first came to the podium, I was like, oh, I know this guy. I remember him from the 80s. He's been around forever. Like, all right, this is when everybody was unsure and nobody knew what was going on. We were all that first 2 weeks, like I'll admit there were a handful, a very small handful of people out there who were calling the shot right there. So I'll give it to them. But the vast, overwhelming majority of people, including the skeptical, were like, "What the fuck is going? What's going on? Excuse me, what's going on here? Like, I don't know what's going on here." And then after a few weeks went by, it started to become clear that things were not on the up and up, right? Yeah, he did Operation Warp Speed in the first week of January 2020. I don't know when it started. I'll take your word for it there. But in the end, like it's the hindsight that we're looking for from Trump, right? It's that hindsight. Like if it's oh wait, you're saying the first week of January 2020? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he did that. I don't think so. We got to look that up. That's too that this is something they were working on this stuff early, but he wasn't. As far as I know, that's a little bit early, but I could be wrong. I remember him doing it. I remember hearing about it over the summer. So if that's true, like I said, shoot the page a message, Leslie, and let me look into that because that's not something that. Yeah, Isabel says, yeah, sounds early. It does sound early. So I remember hearing about warp speed. I believe it was the summertime, but it definitely doesn't feel like it was before the pandemic was announced. Like it was well after that, as far as what I remember. Let me see if we have anything else here. Oh, here's an interesting one I missed from Isabel. So it was decided, and there's a link here. Obviously, I can't click it, but it was decided earlier than 1903 that U.S. vaccines would not be classified drugs. That's interesting. I did not know that. So thank you for that little factoid, Isabella. And I'm sure if the folks that are on there can click that link, you'll probably get a good article on it. Or that's actually the FDA. It looks like a government site. So, but yeah, the vaccine thing. Look, the mRNA stuff, that stuff needs to friggin' like I will not let anybody I know and love touch that stuff in any way, shape, or form. In any way, shape, or form. And as far as the old school vaccines, the traditional stuff where it's just a small dose of that's fine. I don't necessarily have a problem with it, but I do think because they work, right? Like you don't get measles when you get a measles vaccine. Like we pretty much eradicated measles, right? Like those vaccines are effective. The problem I have with those vaccines is just too many at once for a little kid. Like babies should not be getting pumped with that many vaccines and that early in development. Like you should let that wait out a little while and friggin', give it to them when they're older in phases so that it's not this just overwhelming pounding of vaccines and viruses pounding on these kids. Because, I think we really got to start looking into what's changed because the world, not just the world politically, but the world physically is a different place. Like what the hell? All of a sudden, you can't take peanut butter jelly sandwiches to school because of peanut allergies. Like all of a sudden, there's gluten allergies, and autism is through the roof, and all diabetes. All this stuff is like just taking off, and it's something has changed, and I absolutely in my head feel like it's partly food supply and what goes into the processing of our food today. I think there's definitely a big part of it that's that, but I think that it very well could be the onslaught of vaccines all at once on babies. Like they weren't taking, I'm just looking at things that were different, right, from today than what once was when these things were not problems. And like where I think it used to be like 2 or 3 shots a baby would take. Now it's like 8 or 9. Like 8 or 9. Like that's just wild. Like you need to space that out a little bit. It's if they're even all necessary. I mean, do you really need to get a chickenpox vaccine? The vaccine in my day, they would tell you to go hang out with the kid who had it so you could get it and get it over with. and and get your immunity to it. That's for real. So those are Gen X parents for you. It's a great series of videos this lady does on Gen X parents. She said they had to put out commercials to remind our parents that they had children. And she's talking about that as 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are? Oh, that was wild. All right, let's get back on track here. Sheila says his vanity won't allow him to give up, uh, but he is not our best choice. Yeah, look, I hope that whoever gets in just win, just does the right thing, and I know they will. I know either one of them. I have no problem with DeSantis taking on Xi Jinping. I have no problem with that, not even a little bit. I sure as hell don't have a problem with Trump doing it either. Like I said, I miss him saying the China virus with that look. But there's elements of it that I do miss, legitimately miss. But that being said, I wouldn't. But I guess the theme that I want to put here is I don't want to sit here like, oh, I'm all about DeSantis, screw Trump, or I'm all about Trump, screw DeSantis. I'm just trying to tell people to keep your wits about you, right? Keep your wits about you. Get ready for what's going to come because it's going to be wild. And most of the wild stuff is going to come from the Trump campaign. Now I could be wrong, right? No one knows the future, but his Trump's team and the strategies they've taken so far before DeSantis even announced he was running pretty much tell me it's going to get they're going to try and bring this down to a lower level. And I guess it's going to come down to DeSantis being able to stay above that. And I think that he will. I think that he will. And I think, I'm sure he's got a lot of comebacks that he's waiting on and that sort of thing. But Jack says, hi, George. Yes, use my totally true George comment. Yeah. If you weren't on earlier, guys, Kathy was commenting on something and I got to it late and I put it up. It was like totally true, George. I'm like, I'm going to save that comment. Every time I make a point, I'm going to pop that up. All right. Soros, the anti Semite is loyal. So, oh, all right. I already got that one. Right? Is that like a duplicate or am I just scrolled up too high? Let me see here. Here we go. Brian Jordan, Trump. So he's all in for Trump. I think Trump definitely has the advantage. I think it's hard to look at it any other way. Trump definitely is going into this thing with the advantage. I mean, he's got a whole movement on his side, a movement which spawned people like Ron DeSantis, right? And so, you know, that's one way to look at it, right? Like, well, Ron DeSantis was born from this movement, right? But like, it's also, there's also the level of because they're using that angle where, well, I made DeSantis, I'm the reason he got elected. So, but my attitude is like, well, be careful with that, because if you're going to go attacking him and calling him a rhino and this and that, are you now trying to make the case that you got this rhino elected, that you got this, this Soros-backed guy elected? Is that what you did, Donald? Because I'm curious to know how that works. You got to be careful there on both sides of that, right? But we all know that it's not true. We all know that Soros is not backing DeSantis, and that we all know that Trump's going to say whatever he has to say to kill this guy politically. And DeSantis is going to. I hope DeSantis keeps it in good candor. Now he made a comment the other day, which was the kind of candor that I was talking about, where yeah, he's clearly talking about Trump, but it wasn't like calling him Trumpity Trump or something. It was something like, uh, our children and our work should not be trumped by warp speed, or something like that. I forget the actual quote, but it's like, but it's, as a matter of fact, I think I have it. He did like a 1 minute long thing where he was talking about COVID and the vaccines and stuff like that, and he ended it, and now, he ended it just like that, and didn't say another word, and like that's kind of where I hope he keeps it in that tone, a professional. Take a shot out of its politics, but keep it professional.
Not only did we codify all our protections against COVID authoritarianism, we expanded it so that no private or public sector vax mandates on not just COVID vaxes, any vax under emergency use or MNRA. That is your choice, and they should not deny you the right to work based on that choice. We made sure they can't mandate it on school children, and that parents are ultimately the ones that make that determination. The way they weaponized these COVID vaxes was a massive incursion into our freedoms. They wanted to deny people the right to put food on their table if they didn't bend the knee and get a COVID shot that they may not have wanted and that many of them did not need. We can never allow warp speed to trump informed consent in this country ever again.
Okay, so that's what it was. We can never allow warp speed to trump informed consent. So again, a slight dig, but it's one of those like politically professional. So we've been getting some comments on Rumble, and they slip past me because I, the Rumble screen. I usually don't get that many people engaged, and I'm always looking at it, and then I turn away for a few minutes, and it's like boom. So Jay Caledonia says, look at Ted Cruz and Trump. Yeah, so Ted Cruz and Trump were an interesting duo in the primaries last time around. I was actually in 2016. I was a Cruz guy, to be honest with you. I was a Cruz guy in 2016. There were too many unknowns with Trump. It turned out that it was a positive experience, so it's good. But like the thing that concerned me about Trump at the time, and maybe still does kind of, is that he didn't really have a core. Everything's negotiable to this guy. There's no like core set of beliefs that are unnegotiable, and and that was something that worried me. But we got the justices we wanted. We got the stand up to China. We got a lot of the core things that needed to get done from the next president, and it was great to see it happen. Ooga Booga over on Rumble says Trump worked with Dianne Feinstein to push red flag laws, worked with Kim Kardashian early release of felons, empowered ATF, and gave us clot shot. DeSantis booted a Soros-backed DA, Andrew Warren. So yeah, so Soros did. You know what? Let me try and do this because there's a few comments up here from. Let me see. Okay, so and then let me, because no software actually works with Rumble. So, but I will try and. Okay, so here it is. So Uga Booga says Trump worked with Dianne Feinstein to push red flag laws, worked with Kim Kardashian in early release of felons. Now hold on. With the Kim Kardashian one, the early release of felons, I actually supported that. The prison reform bill, that's not a good way to present that. So they what they were doing there were taking people who were overcharged and over sentenced, and like people who did not commit, nasty violent crimes, but were doing like 10 years and 15 years. Like, so there was a reform bill that both sides were trying to get passed for a very long time. It's actually the only thing that Trump actually got done as far as legislation, that and that tax monstrosity that he put forth, that had me paying more in taxes ever since. But but that was that. But you're right about everything else in here. So um, that, they gave us the clout shot, all that, and DeSantis did knock out. He did fire a Soros DA, so that's worth noting as well. Caledonia says. Uga, in a complicated world with complex problems, you think Ron DeSantis has all the solutions, and he starts laughing. So, yeah, I do. I don't think Trump has all the solutions. I don't think anyone has all the solutions. But I think what you're looking for when you bring in a leader, I think both of these men have the same types of qualities. Like this is why I never like senators to be, I never like senators to be president. I don't like Congress people running for president. I like executive positions to run for president. And both of these men are executive position holders. I've always been a fan of governors over senators, 7 days a week, twice on Sunday, right? And so I don't know that we're expecting either one of these guys to have all the answers there. I think in the end, you just want someone who makes good decisions, because we don't even know what all the questions are yet. There are going to be questions that come up that we're not even, So, and he says the economy is doing very bad. Trump would be better for the economy. Can't be worse for the economy, right? Trump's protective tariffs would be more demand for American-made products. Forget the American-made products. That's not happening. It's just not happening. The only way that happens is going to be, there's a couple of ways it could happen, but the only way it really happens, they're going to have to pass legislation, and this is something Trump doesn't do very well. You can't get that done by executive order. So when it comes down to, you could put the tariffs in, you could do all that, but as far as actually getting the stuff made here, no, that's gonna, and there should be legislation on this topic, at least with respect of semiconductors and things that are vital, medical supplies, medical equipment, those types of things. Like it should be tax free for someone to come in, open up a plant, and start manufacturing here those specific items that are absolutely vital to the national freaking interest. Like in the end, what happened during COVID was absolutely disgusting. It was disgusting what happened during COVID. So, all right, and it's still. Let me go ahead and jump off of here now. So, it says Trump never supported lockdowns. Early on, he was not unsupportive. He was talking about them like they needed to happen. So, there's an element of that. But all right, but either way, I don't want to make it all about that. But Jay Caledonia, I appreciate your engagement. Ooga Booga, I love that name, Ooga Booga. All right. On that note, we've now hit the hour. I want to just say thank you to everybody. To those, if anyone hasn't commented yet, as far as what they, if anyone hasn't commented yet, as far as what they will, who they're going to vote for or who they're favoring right now, definitely leave that in the comments. Leave where you're from as well. I definitely love to see that as well. I will definitely be back on as normal on Wednesday night for Wednesday Night Live. So anyone who has not joined from there, please do. And we have for those on Facebook, we have the Patriot Think Tank group, which is an organically grown group that I started when we first started this channel, and and we ended up. Oh, here we got one from Barbara. She said neither. Jeez. So when we started this channel, I started this Patriot Think Tank group, and I've literally not adminned it at all. Like I get notifications like 6 times a day. Now it's grown to over 1,000 people. So on Wednesday nights, because many people are telling me they're not getting alerts for the live broadcast and for things like that. So when I do go live, when we do have a broadcast coming up, reminders on Wednesday, I'll do and add everyone in that group just to get everybody, get everybody the alert. And if you have time and you see the alert, you want to jump on and engage, please do. But as for today, folks, this was not one that I normally do because it's it's Thursday. I don't know. Usually I'll put up a recorded video at this type of time, but I really wanted to engage with you guys and get that Trump DeSantis thing going. I just kind of put it out there that, be careful what you're reading, right? Like look up the same stuff you should always be doing. Just don't get bought in because you're on the side of one side or the other, right? So like don't buy into, all of it. You're going to see a lot of grimy stuff coming down the road. Just remember, at the end of primaries, everybody gets along, and we need everybody. And let's hope if Trump wins, DeSantis is VP, right? That would be outstanding. And if DeSantis wins, there's no way, no way Trump's going to be VP. But let's hope if DeSantis wins that Trump can bow out gracefully and not, not be a psycho and try and tear down the whole party and the whole world. So let's just hope it all works out, folks. Until next time, I'll see you guys when next time I'm on. Love you.